Sophie Mariam. I'm from William, Colorado, at the Colorado Fiscal Institute. I'm a labor policy analyst there. We do fiscal, tax, and economic policy research. And just happy to be here with you all today. A few months ago, I was Ubering to the Denver International Airport, and as my driver was weaving through potholes and really terrible Colorado drivers, I asked him if I could bother him with a quick question. Then my partner looked at me like, are you really about to make us late to the airport so that you can survey our Uber driver for your labor research? And I gave him this look back like, yes, I am. And while it may sound silly, I'm glad that I did, because if I hadn't asked him, I wouldn't have known that of the $80 that I paid in fares that day, he only kept $30 as earnings. As consumers, we only see a sliver of the data. It paints a very different picture than the truth of this dirty app-based work. So what is the truth here, right? It's that the fares that we pay are very different than the earnings that drivers see, and neither drivers nor riders get to see the other story. This is a major issue because big gig companies provide little to no transparency to their workers. Instead, they harvest on-the-job data and use coercive algorithms to pay them as little as possible and deprive them of income security. This is why my colleagues and I at CFI decided to answer the research question, what is the real economic cost of this gamified workplace to all Coloradoan working people, both drivers and the consumers they serve who have no idea where their money is actually going. We did this research in partnership with our local CWA and Colorado Independent Drivers United, organized under that local, who were launching a grassroots campaign to demand that these big gig companies publicly release the very data that we kind of needed to do this research, so we had to get a little creative. However, we were able to access data from over 6,000 trips on ride-hailing and delivery apps across the Denver area from our local Jobs of Justice. That was the data on drivers, but then we needed the data on these take rates. The take rate is how much of the fare you pay goes directly to the corporations as profits. To get that, we got screenshots from local union drivers, and then I nagged my colleagues a lot to take their own screenshots and collect the data ourselves. And our findings were pretty staggering. Take rates were as high as 50 to 70% of the fare that consumers paid, but workers were earning about $10.50 in earnings in the Denver area. That is far and away from the $30 in earnings potential that the industry touts, and it's much less than our state minimum wage and our local minimum wage in Denver of about $17 an hour. But here's the real kicker. If take rates were lower, if workers kept more, if they were just 25% lower in the state of Colorado, workers would earn over $10 more per hour and $20,000 more per year. But workers and consumers don't know that. They don't know how much big gig is taking. And that was the idea behind Senate Bill 98, which rideshare corporations put a lot of lobbying power behind to kill. That's why we need an international movement of consumers and workers to counter the power of these multinational corporations. Because solidarity starts with transparency. So I do talk to my Uber driver about take rates, and you should too.